Hello, everybody. It is that time again. I am back with Mermaid Queen to give her input for the Megacon debrief. If you made it through the first episode, congratulations, because it was a long one. I am sorry, but we had a lot to cover. We were gone for a week. But yeah, we're gonna have Mermaid say her piece, and hopefully it's not as long as what we did in the first thing. So dear,
Yes, dear.
we would like your overall impression of Megacon, and so we want the scale overall,
Okay.
and then give us your breakdown of said scale of being like what caused it to get that scale, and then maybe some highlights and future plans. And
Okay. So the scale has adjusted
okay,
since our initial debrief post show. I think initially I was at what, a 5 out of 10?
I believe it was that low. Yes.
Something about a 5 out of 10. After our initial debrief and that conversation of you kind of pointing out cons will be cons,
Okay.
I have therefore adjusted to what I still feel is a generous, we're going to say a 6.5 out of 10.
All right.
Because I can't decide between a 6 and a 7. So a 6.5 out of 10. For the breakdown of my scaling. To be fair, it lost points through no fault of its own because I was poor this time. And I could not freely go shopping as one would like to do at these types of events. I still got some things, but I chose to be a responsible adult instead of completely blowing through all of my money as a logical person would do in this situation. Throw away all their money. Because why not? It's con. It's like girl math. It doesn't count. Anyway. So I will say, let's go day by day. So Thursday, our friend and I walked the entire exhibit floor. Lots of stuff to see. However, I will say from a more basic standpoint, it felt like a lot of the same like companies just had like a bunch of booths. Like this almost kind of felt like a filler year to me because there were so many weapons booths with where they have the katanas and the other blades and they have the replica guns and all this other kind of stuff, right? And there was like 7 of those. Like they were just everywhere. I was like, how much of this do you guys need? I understand all of it, but also, why are there so many? And everything looks almost exactly the same. Like, so to me, that's where I'm putting, it may not be the exact same business, but why are there 7 booths selling the exact same thing of so much of it? And then you have other ones that might make a little bit more sense, like the mystery boxes that our friend and I like to get, which I will not dig at all. Like, they are great. These are officially licensed mystery boxes. You get some pretty great stuff in those, I will say. They are $60 a piece. To be fair, I do feel they are worth that value because I have truly enjoyed majority of the things I have found in these mystery boxes. So they had multiple booths this year. Maybe not 7, but maybe like 5. And it felt like there was a lot less diversity, for a lack of a better word, in terms of products that were available, which is like, okay. And then there was a couple of things we walked past over in Artist Alley that were interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, what reasonable person is spending this kind of money on this? You know? I'm like, this is kind of crazy. Like, there was a guy selling like resin, like rubber ducks right? Like he had all this different like art stuff. And my understanding was that they were making ducks in this style. No, it's just prints. Like they were just drawing like Captain America as a rubber duck, like Poison Ivy as a rubber duck, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I would rather have a 3D version though. I think that would be hilarious because if you can draw it, you can make it come true.
Yeah, that definitely would have fit in our repertoire
Exactly.
a little bit more.
So, like, seeing a giant sign in the distance that just says rubber ducks with some, from what I can see from a distance, cool stuff. And, like, he had a bunch of the prints up and then he had, like, a booklet to look through. So I was like, oh, these are the options that they're offering. Like, it took me a second to understand that they were not, that they were just prints and that they were not actual physical rubber ducks. And like, it doesn't have to be made out. It could have been a 3D printed duck. Do you know what I mean? It didn't have to be a functional rubber duck. Harry Potter reference. Comment Burrow if you got that. And so yeah, it didn't have to be like a legitimate rubber duck. But any form of a 3D version would have been cooler. Again, no shade. They were really great drawings. Like, don't get me wrong. I just wish there was a 3D version of it. That's my personal preference. Because we have a duck army. And we're always looking to... I literally told the man that. I was like, oh, see, I thought they were physical ducks. I was like, we have a duck army. I am trying to expand the Legion. And he was like, oh, okay. And, like, he's like, oh, did you see these? They were resin ducks. Mm-hmm. Like, full-on resin. Like, that... Like, when it's a whole duck,
yeah,
that shit gets heavy.
Yes.
And I was like, and then they were like $45. I was like, bruh, I am not paying. I could, like, so I asked, like, I was like, oh, did the guy I was talking to who was just the assistant, he was not the actual guy of the booth, right? Like, not the designer, if you will. Mm-hmm. I asked if he created his own mold to make the resin ducks because I'm like, that's very different. Like, I've never actually seen the resin rubber duck style before, but he said the guy created the 3D model, like, for the mold to make it. I was like, that's really cool. Like, don't get me wrong, that's really cool. But again, I'm not paying $45 for a singular color resin duck. If you want to, that's your own business. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name and I did not get a business card. I am terrible at plugging. But anyway, so it's not that there wasn't fun stuff to see. There was just a lot of the same stuff. And I'm not saying same as in repeated from previous years because that's a logical thing that just makes sense. Like, this is their lives. These people travel con to con and sell their stuff. It just felt like too many repeats of the same product on the floor. Still had a good time. Best part of Thursday, hands down, was the live podcast, obviously. A lot of fun in the room. Shaky at the start, to be fair. But, I mean, what are you going to do when you're switching from this version, recorded in advance, this is not a live studio audience, to a live studio audience. And no one's getting paid. So... You know, a lot of people showed up. That was amazing. It was so exciting to see so many people there ready to experience the fun that all of you wonderful listeners get to experience on a, excuse me, hopefully on a weekly basis. We're watching, we know. So it was an amazing experience. It was a lot of fun. There was a few other, you know, con always just has this rushed feel to it. Like, there's never quite enough time to do all the stuff you want to do, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, I guess I get it. Like, you have to pack as much stuff as you can to get people interested in coming. But when you're doing stuff back to back, and when you know con's going to be as busy as it is, you're killing me. Like, it gets a little ridiculous. I mean... So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I mean, I basically felt like I spent each of those days waiting to see the panel of the people I wanted to see. Particularly on Saturday was the one I remember the most because I was running behind getting ready. By Saturday morning, I had gotten very sluggish and I was just not... I wasn't feeling it on Saturday morning. You know, that's on me. By the time I got ready, we were too late for the Flash panel, the CW series. But we managed to make it barely into the Many Faces of Superman panel, which had multiple actors and, you know, voice actors, live action and voice, who have played Superman over the years. Really cool panel. That line was insane. I am shocked that we made it into that theater. Like they were taken like, okay, give me the next 6 people. Like that's how the line was going at the point where we were. We're like, is this gonna happen? I have no idea. We managed to make it in. That was great. Had a lot of great people. And then my brain does not want to function right now. So the problem with that is that when we realized how long that was, we basically, my friend and I, we decided that we were just going to go from panel to panel because there was not going to be time for anything else. I want to say immediately after that one, we went to the Avatar panel, and we're waiting an hour. Like we had reached a point where when they were taking in a group for the panel before, the line for the next panel was starting. And these are 45-minute panels. So the panel hasn't even started yet. They start taking people in like 15 minutes before the panel's supposed to start, assuming it starts on time. So, and there's a 15-minute window between panels. So that's an hour and 15 minutes that you're sitting there waiting for the next person, assuming you don't get there early so that you can be earlier in the line so that you can choose where you sit. Realistically, obviously VIP goes first, but you're still hoping for a good seat. But that's insane. So if you want to see multiple, like let's say you're traveling from out of town. I mean, we're lucky that we live nearby and that we have a system set up where we know we're going to stay in a hotel because it's convenient. And you know, we make sure that we have more than enough time. And this isn't our first rodeo. It's your first rodeo. You're super excited to see, you know, specific people. And you're thinking, oh, well, the last panel doesn't end. Like you flew here, you know you're not going to have that much money left over to go get signatures from everybody that you want, or autographs, photos, whatever you're looking for. And so you're like, okay, well, I have to kind of go in and pick and choose who I'm going to get autographs or photos from and who I'm going to go to a panel for. And then you realize how long everything takes because of the sheer volume of people, especially on Saturday. Saturday is always the craziest day. So it's gotten a little exhausting, essentially, is how I feel. It's a little wear and tear because obviously celebrities are the big pull. And my thing is I would much prefer to go for autographs and have that one-on-one, but you can't afford it every year. I mean, you can try, you can do your best. I understand that I did buy other things, but that's kind of my point, is I had to make a choice between, do I want some merch or do I really want to go see someone? There was no one that I was like, I would give up buying individual little things to go get a signature from this year. At least not an individual, like there was a lot of people that I wanted, so I kind of gave up on that entirely. Like the entire Doctor Who cast. I mean, who doesn't want to see Matt Smith? You know, 11 for life. But it's not to say I didn't have fun. It's just, this year felt very different, very stressful, it was too early in the year, truthfully. Beginning of February, terrible. Don't ever do that to us again.
I don't have a choice.
I know we don't have a choice. But if anyone who works for Fan Expo is listening.
They're doing it in March, if that makes you feel better.
It's a little better. It's still early March, though, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. But yeah, it's a real struggle. I mean, it was Super Bowl weekend. Like, there was so much going on. So much going on. That was our friend's reasoning for why we had a lot of British celebrities this time. Oh. Was because I think the Grammys were the week before, like the Sunday before, and I know the Oscars are coming up, so like people are very busy right now. So British people don't care about the Super Bowl.
Nope.
So of course they're going to be like, hey, you want to pay me to come to Florida? Sure, why not? Why not? So there were good moments. I had fun in the panels that I did make it to. I wish I could have gone to one or two more. And I always just want to buy stuff, much to Dragon's discontent. The last thing he wants is for me to have more stuff.
Don't make it seem like I just can't allow you to have things.
It's not okay. Let me rephrase. Okay, the last thing he wants is for me to have stuff that can't or won't have a purpose. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, just the random things I buy that are for filling my current hyperfixation, as you put it, that afterwards will not have a form of decoration or anything, to say the least. Is that better?
That's better. Yeah, you
Okay.
can't have me just looking terrible out here on my show. That's messed up.
Doesn't mean I love you any less.
Thankfully, I'd be real awkward.
Wouldn't it? Like I'm gonna shit all over you and
be
love
like,
you less.
and be like,
That's a roof.
Yeah, but so did you have any particular highlights that were like, ooh, yes, I have to share this, or have you pretty much covered everything since you did do a nice day by day?
Yeah. Realistically, like I said, the panels were really great. I mean, the Superman panel was super fun for me. It was a lot of the people that I recognize as Superman, like Tom Welling in Smallville. More so Clark Kent than Superman, but you know, the vibe is the same. Like, I was obsessed with that show back when TV shows were actual shows. 45 minutes plus commercials would make it an hour, but 23 episodes a season, 10 seasons long, none of this, oh, it's been 1.5 seasons, canceled. Like, so Tom Welling was amazing as Clark Kent. Dean Cain is the first guy I remember seeing as Superman, and he was there, so that was really cool. Getting to see all of the companions in that panel, that was fantastic. That was so amazing. It's just, especially River. Oh, love. So yeah, Alex Kingston was there, Arthur Darvill was there, Billy Piper was there, which is amazing because I'm like, it's Rose. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't love Rose? So these were just really amazing things. I always love just getting to see them outside of their characters sometimes, and to experience them. Catherine Tate's panel was amazing. Having her just, like, she really did what she wanted to do, She ran around. She's like, ask your questions. Go ahead. Ask me.
Yeah, do the thing. I dare.
She's like, do it.
Run answers at your own risk. Were definitely Catherine's mentality.
Very much so.
She somehow was able to curve the panel problem of people asking things that either were already asked or things that were like, hey, we have a time limit. Stop asking like a million things. I get it. You're excited. We all are. But there seems like there's a certain repertoire of, manners, I guess is the best way of putting it, of being like, hey, if you're going to be the one who's like, I guess, ballsy enough to like go up to the stand, because that's typically how they used to have it, but I like the new format that they went with.
I did like the new format. That was much better in my opinion.
But if given a mic, you need to be able to curve your excitement to the point that it's like, okay, get the question out. Get the question out. And she handled that very well, because it was a roll of the dice of, if she deemed what you asked worth a real answer,
yes,
or if she was going to troll you.
I think one of my favorite answers was when someone asked her about which other doctor she would want to be with. And she just goes, see, this is something new. I didn't know there were other doctors.
Right. Like...
And I'm like, is this a troll answer? Who knows?
Who knows? There's no way.
cares?
Like, she does have the personality type to be like, okay, I didn't look into this prior, and I didn't look into this after. And so...
Just because she was in the show
Yeah.
doesn't mean that she watches the show.
Like, she followed it or whatever. Yeah, it was... So, yeah.
I will say, when it comes to the people, kind of tying back into what I said before about having to make a choice between getting an autograph or going to a panel, whether that be monetary or for other reasons, I think that's where some people get confused. They want to go on their spiel and say all of this stuff. And I'm like, I feel, you still got to keep it tight, but if you're having that one-on-one interaction with them for an autograph, for a photo, that's more so your opportunity to kind of gush over them. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really do that. Like, there's not saying there's not a time limit for the autographs and the photos. However, that is your opportunity to have your one-on-one interaction. Yeah. Not in the fast-paced, rushed environment that was the panel.
In the speed dating version of Correct. Interactions.
Which, again, was just how Catherine Tate did it, not how the other panels were done. Other panels were done standard way, moderator asking questions, and then they had pre-fan submitted questions. And it all depended on time, how many they asked. It was a lot better. I've never liked that when we went a few years back, the last time we were there all 4 days, when it was like, oh, now we're going to open the floor to questions. And there's like 50 people running up to get in line to the microphones. You could see even before they would open up the mics and be like, okay, you guys can come ask questions now. You could see people lining up as soon as they would put the microphones out.
Yeah.
And like they would sit down and stuff, or they would, you could see them like creeping around like the chairs and things, trying to get closer to it in preparation for them going, okay, so that they could get first, because they still understand that there's a time limit on this, which is because they know some of these people's questions are not going to be able to be asked. But at the same time, back when they did it that way, it's like, if you hear your question asked, go sit down.
Yeah.
Get out of line.
It was
still... don't stand up just because you're like, oh, let me think of another question. No. Your question was asked. Odds are your next question's going to be asked. Just have a seat. Unless it's right in front of you and you're next in line and they ask your question.
Yeah.
Then maybe just kind of be like...
rarely the case.
Correct.
It was always we've gotten here. Oh, someone... And then they would admit it. That it was like, oh, hey, you... Like, yeah, they just asked this, and then they would try to, like, rephrase it or whatever, and I was like...
It's the same question, though.
Why didn't you guys do this better? But...
It was a lot better this year with the pre-submitted questions. I will also say, I feel like a lot of the pre-submitted questions, obviously they got to pick and choose between them, but they picked some really great questions. Like, you could hear people, like, everyone in the audience kind of oohing and ahhing at some of the questions. Because it's like, that's a really good question. I know, who knows if we would have asked that question. They also, a lot of the different panels this year, people, they played games. Like, the moderator would be like, oh, let's play this game. I think it's so funny that they gave the companions, Doctor Who companions panel tea. Did they give them tea, or am I... No, I think I'm thinking of Avatar panel. I think they gave them tea, which was honestly hilarious.
That's very on brand.
Yeah. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated series, to be specific. Someone did ask me for clarification. So just to be specific.
There you go.
Because it's been 20 years. Do you feel old now, Mr. Krabs?
No. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your side of things. We have one more video left. It will be with Apollo, and we've been trying to get that one recorded for some time, but due to issues and all of his stuff that he has going on, we haven't done that one. So it might not be out with this one and the previous one with Infernal, but do keep a lookout for that. Also, all of the other fun stuff that happen will be on the Patreon. So we have our photo shoot edits are on the Patreon. All of our better photos from the days will be on the Patreon as well. The vlogs will be on the Patreon. So if you would like to support us a little bit more, join the Patreon. The link is on the video. And until then, we love you. Thank you for the support, and see you on the next one.
Bye.